What's going on, guys? I'm David with Transparency Fitness Live, and today we have Miss Natalie Jones on, and I'm going to let her tell you guys a little bit about herself. She has done some amazing things, guys.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun podcast.
It is. I'm excited to be here. I don't even know where to start in the sense of...
Well, the list just goes on and on and on here, so...
It does. It does, but it's exciting to be a part of this podcast and just to share my journey through fitness, because I think just like everyone, it kind of changes throughout life and through different stages. So grew up being a super active young person. My family is very active. So both my parents were collegiate athletes. So
Oh, really?
yeah. So,
I didn't think I knew that.
yeah. So they raised collegiate athletes as well.
You didn't really have a choice, did you?
Yeah, we were very active. They did a great job modeling what healthy behavior and what a healthy lifestyle looks like, which is great. And so that I think definitely influenced my brother and I to what we do now. So I grew up playing all different types of sports, but kind of landed on soccer, and then played club soccer for a while, played high school soccer.
Do you play at Henry Clay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Played at Henry Clay, go Blue Devils. And then...
There's Generals all the way.
Yeah. And then Lafayette's okay. They're good. And then we ended up kind of going through that and playing soccer in college. So I played soccer at Transy. Unfortunately, I got injured, and so had to kind of figure out what that looked like and moved on to cross country.
What injury?
So it's a freak accident.
Really?
Accident. Yeah. Nothing to do with sports. Was actually in Costa Rica riding a horse. And it's a freak accident. Was riding a horse on a trail, and the trail narrowed, and another horse cut my horse off. So my horse bit the butt of that other horse. The horse back kicked, and my foot was caught in the stirrup in the kick. So that was great. It was a interesting experience to navigate that in a different country.
Well, according to the achievements you made since, I think it has healed for sure.
Yes, it did not stop me, but it did for a little bit, and I was definitely coming back to soccer. I was timid to go into tackles and to be the same person that I was, and so kind of switched into running and doing half marathons. Trained for my first marathon during college, and then did cross country, and absolutely fell in love with it. After college, when I was in grad school, I definitely had that worry of being a NARP, that non-athletic regular person. And so I started doing CrossFit. So I was into CrossFit for a really long time.
You train here in Lexington? Or?
Yeah, at Man of War CrossFit.
Okay.
Taylor, Taylor is great. So check them out. So that's where I really got into strength training and doing that. And then got into cycling, and here we are.
And then
today.
The Pandora's box got opened.
Yes.
And you just haven't looked back since.
Exactly. Yep. So now I am 3-time Ironman athlete, and biked across the country last summer in 2021 with my brother. So I think I can now say that I am a cyclist. That is who I am now.
What do you mean? You're a marathon runner. You're a cyclist. You're a swimmer. Like, you're everything. What are you talking about? Like,
multi-sport athlete for sure.
You don't get to complete an Ironman and just say you're just a cyclist.
That's fair. But now I enjoy
put them all
cycling.
three together. So I did a sprint up in Winchester, and that was next to nothing. And I was like, oh, I didn't train, so that probably didn't help.
Yeah.
But that was difficult enough, and that was 400-meter swim.
It's usually like a 12-mile bike ride,
12,
and then like a 5K.
Yeah. I made it through with no training, but I was dead afterwards.
But hey, the sprints, the shorter distances are harder depending on how you go, because it's a sprint, so
right.
Sprint,
but you could still go at your normal pace and just finish the sprint kind of slow.
Correct. Yes, but a lot of times, especially as you work your way up with triathlons, and being competitive, the shorter the distance, the harder you go. So it may be short, but it can be hard.
I guess what got you interested in doing an Ironman? I guess you had done some marathons before you did the Ironman, so you knew that you could complete the run.
Yes, so I'd done some road races, and I knew that I could do it. I was actually still in college when I saw my first Ironman take place. So I went to Ironman Louisville. So it's not a race anymore, but they used to do Ironman Louisville.
They cut it off like 2 years ago. I mean, it was up to very recently. Right?
Yep. Yeah. So they ended their contract with Ironman, but I went and watched Ironman Louisville, and I just got really emotional watching them finish. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, these people are amazing.
Now, had you already completed I guess you'd already done a marathon before you did your first Ironman.
Correct.
And had you already done a century ride?
During training for my first Ironman, yes.
Okay, so that was the first time that you did
Yes.
it. So you technically, well, and you told me you swam in high school.
Yes.
So I'm going to say this, for anybody that swam competitively at the high school or collegiate level, you don't even have to train for really, I feel like you don't have to train that hard for 2.4. Like, you just mentally can get through it. You train because you want to be faster.
Yes.
Not that you can't get it done.
Yeah.
So you had two components already there.
Yes. I was not a strong cyclist. So
that was your week.
That was my weakest.
Okay.
Yes. I was, I had been in a bad accident when I was in middle school cycling. And so I was like just old enough to remember, you know what I mean? Like, I knew how bad, like, falling
that
hurt.
Feeling still was there.
Yes, that fear
that
was
emotion,
there.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I was always afraid of cycling, and then actually because of a class I took in college at Transy, we have May term classes, and one of the classes I took was Tour de Kentucky with Dr. Brown, and so we got to, during May term, train for cycling, and then we did a whole 300-mile tour of Kentucky. So that was my first like bike packing. It was fully supported though, but
what does that mean, fully supported?
So we didn't have to carry our gear. So we spent the night in different places, but we had a van that followed us with all of our.
So you were just, your body weight was pretty much all you were.
Yep. So just us on bikes, but we that was the longest I'd ever gone before.
So it was 300 miles over what, 2
I
or 3
think we
days?
did it. No, it was like maybe 4 days. It was a very leisure bunch of college students.
That sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
It was a blast. And we stayed at some really cool places, and it was so much fun. And that's actually where my one of my best friends and my partner now with Ironman, where both of us kind of fell in love with cycling. So we were both on that trip together. And then after that, it kind of took off because I was like, okay, I can bike. This is fun. And then kind of just kept increasing the distance.
Wow.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So saw Ironman Louisville, was like, I'm going to do this one day. And then we'll kind of talk about this, I'm sure. But in my philosophy, I'm a big person and believer of just go big or go home. Like, just try it.
Yeah, I definitely know that for a fact.
Yeah. So I basically was just like, well, I'm going to do this. Here we go.
And you did your first Ironman. Like, you didn't do any modified version of an Ironman.
I had done some sprint triathlons before.
Okay, but that was the biggest.
It. I think I literally had only done 2.
And then you're just like, all right,
and
I'm good. Like, I did 2 sprints. Like, I could totally do something that's like 6 times more difficult.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, let's just do it. So
do you feel like there's a major mental component to completing it? Like,
for sure.
Like that a lot of people that at least have trained to have what it takes to complete it, but mentally they could break down?
I think that there are 3 main disciplines in Ironman. So there's the swim, the bike, and the run. But I like to say that there's really 5. So it's swimming, biking, running, nutrition, which is, I feel like, can make or break you during the day of the race. And then mentally, you have to be strong. So there's really 5 components of Ironman. And that's one thing that I love about the Ironman is that, especially I noticed this when I went to Louisville, is that there's a wide variety of people competing and finishing, like all walks of life. We have adaptive athletes, people who you wouldn't think would be out there depending on their size, depending on their age, and everyone's out there doing it at their own pace. And it's amazing. Obviously, it brought me to tears the first time I saw it.
I mean, if you think about it, I think that probably someone that isn't very well trained, but at least understands the basics of each discipline of how to swim, how to bike halfway decent, how to run, right?
Yep.
Mentally, it may take you, I don't know how many hours.
17 hours is the cutoff.
Is the cutoff, okay.
Yep.
Is that a lot of time to complete it? Huh?
Yeah, all the time. It's always there's sometimes it can be a little shorter, but it's usually 17 hours.
But mentally, if you're like, I'm just going to do it, you just get it done.
Yep. And that's what I say. Ironman seems
I really
daunting.
do believe that. If you believe you're going to get something done and that's what you want to do, you will overcome and you will get it done.
Yep. Mind over muscle. That's
it's a real thing.
It is. And that's what I really do think. People don't believe me when I say this, but anyone can do an Ironman. Anybody. I
believe it.
Yeah. Anybody can do it. If you put your mind to it.
It's just how bad do you want to do it?
Correct. Can you keep going?
You can do
when
it,
your
but
body wants to stop. And There you go.
So take me through the first Ironman. Just everything from like the swimming to the bike to the run, nutrition, just kind of like, and then what did you, I guess as we get towards the end of the race, kind of give me some insight on like what you learned.
A lot.
That kind of translated into the second Ironman.
Yeah. So my first Ironman was a very interesting Ironman, and I definitely learned a lot. So I did Ironman Florida.
So that was the first one.
That was my first one. Okay. Ironman Florida was my first one.
Nice and warm.
Yeah, it was perfect and flat. It's great. So
I guess that plays a part too.
I have picked locations very strategically. I will say that. So Ironman Florida was my first one, and it was interesting because I have done open water swims before. Grew up like on a lake, so very comfortable with open water. But I had never really gone swimming in an ocean. So that was like a new variable that I had never really done, because obviously Kentucky doesn't have an ocean to practice in.
No, we do not.
So I had never done an open water swim like that. So that was completely new to me. For biking, I still was considered a newbie, I guess, with cycling. So I still had a very basic road bike, whereas when you show up to an Ironman, there are bikes that cost anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, probably even more than $20,000. So like really fancy bikes, and then I show up with this like $300 bike that I got, so it's like very different.
You're not gonna let that stop you though.
Oh no, it didn't, but it just looks very different. I was not comfortable with cycling yet at this point. I was still nervous. I'm still a nervous Nelly when it comes to cycling.
What do you mean by nervous? What made you nervous with the cycling?
I had just been, again, like in that accident in middle school, so I was afraid.
Right.
I didn't like people close to me. I wasn't comfortable having my hands on the handlebar and maneuvering to different water bottles or to different food items that were on my bike.
So you were just in general like nervous just
to be
controlling the bike.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're fighting with that.
Yes.
With a lesser than great bike.
Correct.
On
and
your first
yes, there was a lot. And I will even say I knew I was afraid of the cycling. And so, this is total noob. It's just funny now. Because I knew I was afraid of taking my one hand off the handlebars and navigating that. I actually wore a camelback.
Okay.
The entire time.
Is that not normal?
No, it's not. So it's very funny to look at pictures as I've progressed. But yeah, so
do people give you weird looks passing you by and being like, "Oh yeah, that's."
They definitely knew that I was a new person. Yes, they definitely.
That is definitely her first Ironman.
Yes, I had all of my food and nutrition in my camelback.
Okay.
And I'll say that the swim went better than anticipated.
Okay.
Just from the beginning. Usually most Ironmans have a practice swim. So I was great that
what is a practice swim? Like, do you get to do the full swim? The day
before. Nope, not the full swim, but the day before they open up part of the course, and there's like boats and lifeguards out there, and you can.
So you can at least get a feel for the water.
Correct. Yeah, okay. I think they normally do it's like a 400 or 800 that they open up for you just to kind of feel it out, and kind of get an idea of what the water temperature is and what's going on. So I was lucky to have George Van Meter, who's amazing, and Jody Shoup and Chelsea Diamond or Chelsea Peterson be a part of that practice swim. So I wasn't alone. I knew some people who were there, so that built my confidence of having community and support.
Right. That's huge. Anywhere you go, I think that's one of the probably most enticing thing about CrossFit to some people is that like it is a tough workout.
Yeah.
But the people there, you can be day 1 or day 100, like
build you up.
They really do. In most cases.
Yes, and that's what community.
So it's huge.
Key. Yes, community is key. So it was Jody Shoup and mine our first time doing an ocean swim, and George was amazing, and Chelsea was amazing, and kind of.
So you all did it together.
Yeah, we did the practice swim together, and the three of us females, Chelsea, Jody, and I, were competing. George was just there to volunteer, but he was like, I'll practice swim with you and give you some tips and show you what to do. And so that was really helpful in just getting the nerves kind of out of the way. And then the swim went perfectly. Like, could not have asked for a better swim. I will say that Ironman Florida, because it's an ocean swim, is a little different than some of the other Ironmans, is that it's actually a 2-lap swim. And they make you come out of the water after lap 1, and you kind of run across a checkpoint. You have like
Right.
an ankle
Right.
chip, and then you go back in to make sure that everyone's accounted for. And
There isn't someone at the bottom of
Yeah.
oh no.
so I will say, so the swim is technically the most dangerous part of the Ironman. So
Oh, I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah.
there are people who die during Ironman races, and it's typically during the swim.
Is it because there's so many people on top of each other?
No, it's actually typically males who end up, and it wouldn't necessarily be in Florida because of the warm body. It was a wetsuit legal event, but typically it's their heart rate just gets going, and then they get into super cold water, and there's usually like a cardiac arrest type of moment.
Okay, so they may have something pre-depositioned
Yes.
where their heart may be a little bit weaker than.
Yes.
Okay.
So the swim is the most.
So it's a specific thing that causes it a lot of times. Okay.
Yes. So the swim is where a lot of accidents could take place. And so, so the first lap I used as like a warm up and feel it out. And I was like, okay, feel good. And then the second lap, I actually was able to pick up my pace because I was confident. So I felt really good. The swim went ideal. The bike was, again, not my strong suit. And I
would say it almost sounds like a negative factor, not even a strong suit.
It was like I did not enjoy cycling at this time. I was not into it. But I knew I had to.
You weren't the badass that you are today.
Correct. Little did I know it was coming. But so I was able to finish the bike under the time limit, but it did. It definitely was slow.
What's the time limit for the bike?
I knew that you would ask that.
If you said it, I got to know.
I know. I can't remember. Off
Do you
the
know
top of my
like
head.
roughly?
Maybe like 6 hours, 7 hours.
Okay, to do 100 miles, right? Or is it 90?
112.
Oh, it's 112.
It's 112. Yeah.
You know, I can do 100, but an extra 12? No, thank you.
It's a long day on the bike, but it's great because the Ironman is a great event in terms of I always say it's a fully catered event. So you have sag stops every 10 miles on the bike. So you have full nutrition, full, snacks, food, water, Gatorade.
So do you actually stop and get off the bike during the?
I did my first time. Yes.
Okay. Do some people not then? Some people, do they do a bike the 112 right through?
Yes, but they do have aid stations set up where on the bike where there's porta potties as well, so people will get off to use the bathroom, and then there's also volunteers who are literally just like reaching their hand out and they're holding a water bottle, and you can go through the lane and just keep going, but grab and go, so you don't have to actually get off your bike. So you can figure out what works best for your strategy.
I watched the video the other day where I think it was a marathon, and it was one of the top 3 or 4 guys in this marathon, and they're going past a water station, and one of the guys just put his hand out and knocked all the water off the table so none of his opponents behind him could get water.
That's rude.
And then grabbed a water like it kept going, and I was like, oh no, someone better beat that guy.
We don't like that. We like sportsmanship.
We do.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, as much as I want to win, just having a good time, I think is, that's the whole point, right? Yeah. I know some people think it's crazy, but pushing your body to its limit and achieving something that really you probably never thought you could do at one point in time in your life till you realized you could do it.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
But when you overcome it, you just like, okay, I need more, please.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough.
Yeah. It's addicting. And even after, so my first one was a learning experience. So the bike.
Now, have you eaten anything at this point? Why?
Yes. So I've been doing nutrition on the bike.
So what do you do nutrition-wise for the bike?
I did not do it well.
Okay.
I did not do it well. So I kind of looked up stuff online and found some other friends in the area who had done Ironmans and kind of took what they utilized as nutrition.
Right.
And didn't practice my nutrition. So you should do that.
So the food that you're putting in your body during this race is extremely important. And I'm guessing when to do it is important as well.
Yeah. When to do it, what you're putting in, because not only are you trying to kind of recover from the swim, because you obviously can't eat or drink while you're swimming. And then
talk for yourself. Okay. Yeah. Us professional swimmers, we eat and drink all the time while swimming. Okay.
Hey, I haven't learned that skill yet, but I hope I can one day. And so you get off the swim. So you're trying to replenish the calories that you've already burned, but then you're also trying to fuel yourself and maintain during a 112-mile bike ride, but then also fuel yourself to be able to run a marathon.
You got to put gas back in the
Correct.
tank.
So it's a lot. And so the bike is actually where majority of your fuel is going to come from, because it's obviously easier to eat while you're biking,
Right.
and just easier for digestion to be able to take it in instead of while you're running and it's like jostling and stuff. So
Okay.
I did not practice my nutrition for my first race, and that backfired tremendously. So I made it through the bike before the cutoff.
So what did you bring nutrition-wise?
I don't even.
Or that do you remember?
Yeah, I remember, but I don't remember the name. So basically, it was some type of recovery drink, like an electrolyte drink that I had in my Camelback. And then I had just power bars, basically. I don't remember the brand.
Like protein.
Yep.
Okay.
Protein, carbs, and like sugar is
Right.
what I was going for. And yeah, so I got off the bike. I had a moment where there was like a support, because I was slow. I was very slow. So I had a moment where there was like a support little moped dude who like came up next to me, and I thought that I was getting like tapped.
Cut off.
Like I thought I was like,
You're
oh my
going too
gosh.
slow.
Yeah, I was like, oh no. And he was like, I'm just checking to make sure you're good. And I was like, yeah, please leave. Like, you're making me nervous. Like, I'm fine. Like, I just need to finish. And then when I got off my bike, I was just so relieved to be off the bike. Like, I was like, praise be.
So
like,
you were probably using up energy because of
being
your
nervous.
discomfort,
Yes,
your discomfort for the
sure.
bike, and in that relief, probably felt good for a minute, but I bet it caused you to hit a wall.
Yep. So multiple things I feel like caught me to hit a wall during the marathon. So I got off the bike. This is something new that I also, I feel like for a new person for triathlon, I actually changed between each discipline. So I got out of the water. I swam in just a bathing suit and a wetsuit, went to the female tent, changed into my cycling outfit. And then when I came in to transition again after the bike, I completely changed and went into a running outfit. So that's not normal for Ironman athletes. So that was another new thing that I learned.
You just got a whole new strategy people are not on top of. They don't know. They don't know about your strategy yet.
Yeah. So this was the learning one. So I got out of the transition for going into the run and just went balls to the walls, because I was like so excited to be off of the bike. And running was my favorite discipline at the time. And so I just went for it.
A lot of us would disagree with you.
Yeah. I should have disagreed with myself. I should have listened to some of the warnings that I had heard about pacing, but I went for it. And yeah, just was able to actually get a PR technically for my half marathon. Which you should not do.
The first half went really well.
Went very well. And then mile 15 happened, and it went downhill.
Really?
Quick. Yes, it went downhill really quick. I ended up having GI distress, and so I was basically, so on the bike they have 8 stations every 10 miles. On the marathon they have an 8 station every mile. And so for me on the run, it literally was, I need to make sure I can get to the next aid station, to the bathroom.
Right.
I need to make sure that I can get there, and that was the only goal.
That was right.
Yes, that was the goal, and it got really bad to where I'm sure there's a real name for this, but I joke that I have portophobia. So like I don't like porta potties. I'm not a fan of porta potties.
I mean, I'd rather not use them if I can help it.
I'll go pop a squat before I'll use a porta potty. Like
I get that.
That's where I'm at, and so I knew that I was in a low place when I don't even know what mile, maybe mile 20. And I got in a porta potty. It's dark outside. They have, they've put like glow sticks in the porta potty to light it up, like so people can see. And I remember just sitting in the porta potty and just looking around and being like, this is nice. Like I could stay here. And that's when I knew that I was in a low point. I was like, you should not be thinking about that.
About quitting right now,
or just like staying.
How comfortable you are in a porta potty.
I was like,
you should not be this comfortable.
I was like, we need to leave. Like this is bad. So that was my first race and did not feel well. Like the recovery process, I finished within the time frame. But
how long did it take you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, no, it was close. It took me 16:30.
16. Okay.
So 17 hours.
But you completed it.
I completed it, and that was my goal, was just to get it done. So got it done, and then had a hard time recovering. I was like dead to the world for the next day. So
I'm sure.
If someone
how many days did it take you to get back to where you feel like you could start training again?
Honestly, it was a quick rebound though. Maybe like 3 days.
Okay, so not bad.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. But I definitely, some of my friends who did it with me, like Jody and Chelsea, who did that Ironman with me, felt fine the next day. You know what I mean? Like
their body.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you are in recovery, you know, we do
Correct.
these Sunday fun days every week, and I can always tell where I'm at cardiovascular-wise and recovery-wise, because once I complete it, the second I feel I'm good that I could like start another one, that's when I'm like, okay, so sometimes it's 30 or 40 minutes after I'm like, oh, I could
Do it again.
I don't know if I could really complete it, but I could jump back into it and get pretty far.
Totally.
And then other times it's taken me like I've been dead for like hours, and I'm like, yeah, I need more of these.
Yeah.
Because I like to be within an hour of finishing something like that. I like to feel like I'm good to go again.
Yeah. Yeah. So everybody has
that.
different recovery, you know, like
Yeah.
different recovery times. And so, like for me, the next day they have an Ironman Village, which is basically just like where,
How many
like
people do an Ironman on
vendors.
average, would you say?
there's like 2,000 athletes at each event typically.
Okay.
That's
wow.
the cutoff, is like
Okay.
2,000 athletes. And they end up having like 4,000 volunteers who help throughout the race. So it is truly like a catered event. Like the race day is relatively easy, you know, compared to
Right. Well, they try to
training.
make it to where you don't have to do much thinking, right? You just focus on
You
the
just show
the
up
task.
and do it. Yep. Show
the
up and do
three
it.
main tasks ahead.
Yes, exactly. So my first one was interesting. And I definitely did not think that I would do another one. And then I did. And then I was still like, okay, like I think it was one of those things after a few weeks, I was like, I think I could do better.
So what are some changes you made going into the second one that you learned from the first one?
Yep.
Or some of the stuff that you might have kept that you're like, okay, this was a good decision and I'm going to stick with it.
I think I kept the mentality. So doing Ironman is a humbling experience. And so I was very competitive growing up. And so I feel like you definitely learn how you're only competing against yourself at this point. Like,
Okay.
At least where I am, I'm not up into the competitive, I'm good right now, thanks, into the competitive, cycle of Ironman. But, yeah, so I definitely took the mentality the same of I'm only competing against myself, not worried about other people. And then everything else was totally different. So for the next one, I did Ironman Texas, which was a blast. I did it with two of my friends again. And it just went way better.
Do you think,
overall.
also, I'm guessing part of that just knowing what to expect now?
Totally. So, there was not as much fear around. There's still,
Right.
you know, the anxiousness.
Do we have a new bike for this one now?
We do have a new bike. I upgraded. Yes, I upgraded significantly on the bike, and so I got an actual triathlon bike. They call it like a time trial bike.
Okay.
So I got a triathlon bike.
So what is a bottom dollar for a decent bike for something like this?
I mean,
We're talking $1,000 if you get something used?
it's hard to say. It's hard to.
Or
hard to
they-
put, I mean, maybe like $3,000.
Okay, so that's probably minimum what you would like for like the bare bottom bike that would be beneficial for this race, or actually help you, give you that improvement.
That would be a fancier, bike. Yeah. But I mean, like I said, like there are people like myself who do Ironmans on road bikes, and that's fine. And my brother actually just did, my third Ironman was my brother's first Ironman in Arizona, and he did it on a road bike. And so it's very possible. People do it on road bikes a lot. But the more you get into it, it's
right. You
easier
want to,
yeah.
you're like, well, this could drop my time by X amount of, and so you're looking for those,
Little
minutes,
ways
right?
to, yep, exactly.
Yeah. And so that to me sounds like one of the bigger things you could have done to
Yes.
improve your time.
Yep.
Is upgrade the bike.
For sure. And the helmet, like everything, like little things to be as aerodynamic as possible, make the change.
Oh yeah, I guess the helmet, yeah.
Yep.
Bet you those aren't cheap either.
Nope. No, they're not. So you're not.
Do you have one of the longer helmets that have the
I
little
don't
thing,
have
tail,
like,
the
no, I
tail
don't
at
have
the
the
end?
tail, but I do now have an aerodynamic helmet, but it looks like a normal
Okay.
helmet.
So were you comfortable on the bike this time going into your second?
Definitely more comfortable.
Okay.
I had done more of the century rides throughout Kentucky at this point, so I was more comfortable with being on my bike for a long time, being on the roads, being confident in bike handling.
Right.
But I was still nervous because this bike was still relatively new to me, and so I actually have aero bars put on my bike. And so you're in like this like crouched
Oh, okay.
position.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yep. So you're down.
You're professional now.
I look professional.
That's all
I
that
look
matters,
the
right?
part.
You just have to look the
Yes,
part.
Look
Doesn't
the
matter
part.
if you can.
Confidence. Yes, but Yeah, so I was still nervous about coming down and out of my aero bars. I wasn't totally comfortable with that maneuvering, but I felt comfortable grabbing things off my bike, so I didn't do it with the Camelback this time, and was able to hold my nutrition.
So what was the nutrition this time around? I'm guessing.
So this time around, I've learned my body does not work well with supplements or with I got not like artificial, but that's the only word that's coming to mind right now. Like the power bars and stuff. Like my body does not digest, like they're heavy, right? So my body does not digest that well. And so only real food is what I ate. So base salts is one thing that I swear by. And it's like an electrolyte salt. So it comes in a little, kind of looks like a chapstick tube, and you just like pop it off. Lick your finger and like shake it and then lick the salt. So base salt is a game changer and it has electrolytes in it. So base salts, I swear by it. And then I ate pretzels and Gatorade. Pretzels. Yep.
What about like rice?
Yeah, but how are you going to eat rice?
I don't know.
But I'll get back to that actually. I'll get back to that. That's a good point. And then so pretzels and then Uncrustables. So that's what I ate. Was water, Gatorade, Uncrustables, pretzels, and salt.
Okay.
Yep.
And by the way, you could mash up the rice and turn it into a paste somehow.
So it's interesting that you say that though, because I totally forgot. Because now now Ironman 2 goes really well for me.
Okay. What was your time on this one?
15. It was like 15:15 or 15:10.
Oh wow! So you improved by over an hour and 15 hour and 10 minutes.
Yep.
I'd say that's impressive.
I was super stoked.
Progression.
Yeah, super stoked, and I was not dead. Like I felt good. You know what I mean?
The next day, did you recover a lot faster?
Was fine.
So the conditioning was
the next morning.
That means the conditioning was probably a little bit better for this.
Yes, was totally fine. Everything went well. The only thing that did not go well is that Texas on the bike course that they had us on had no shade. So my friend and I both got just sunburned. Yeah, I still have like a line. I'm pretty sure I got like 3rd-degree burn on my leg just because like one side got the sun, and they have sunscreen stations at the Ironman, so I did take advantage of that.
But you still got burnt.
Well, I'm pretty sure we figured out the cause, and my aunt actually figured this out, is that I'm pretty sure I had gone to the restroom, and then when I adjusted my shorts back, I just must have like moved my shorts just a little bit, you know what I mean, to where there was just like a line that
had not been hit with the man.
So I think that
so you just have like a red line on your body,
literally
on your
just
leg,
on my thigh, just like right there. So that was the worst part. But other than that, I felt completely fine. Like I said, like was able to wake up the next morning and like go to brunch with friends and family that were there and was good to go.
You didn't have any holding back on the food, huh?
Yeah, no. No.
And probably didn't feel guilty about it at all.
Yeah. And I had like no GI distress throughout any of the race. Or
so you think the food and the drinks that you decided to go with were okay?
Because the marathon, I did the same thing. I stuck to only real foods.
Do you ever really get hungry though while you're doing it?
That would be bad. So you want to make sure that you don't get hungry, that you're constantly like fueling to where you don't hit that point.
Okay.
So little bits here and there. So nothing.
What will you do any of that stuff on the run?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You eat on the run for sure.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, but again, just little bits. So that's why the bike is where you're going to get the main chunk of that nutrition. And so then we move on to Ironman Arizona, which was the most recent race that I just did in November of 2021, and was able to really dial in my nutrition and figure out exactly what works well. And this is why I laughed at the race, but you were correct with rice. There's a company called Scratch Nutrition. And they are basically everything from scratch and like whole foods. And so I eat Rice Krispie treats basically.
Okay, yeah, that works.
That's what it's like a Rice Krispie treat, but it's like whole rice. It's like brown and black rice. And then there's like a strawberry marshmallow flavor and then
nice.
Like a s'mores. And that's what I ate on the bike. So I laughed at that, but you were correct. I did transition to rice. So I ate that and my body can digest that easily.
Yeah.
And again, really the main things that you're looking for during an Ironman race is carbs and sugar. So I actually ate
that makes sense.
Yep.
Because you're going to burn through all that
Yeah,
sugar.
you just
It's
want
not like
quick.
it's not like the sugar's going to the body. It's
Right.
it's getting utilized.
Yes, it is getting used. So so this time I ate gummy bears.
Okay.
The scratch rice bars, and then honey.
Gummy bears, really?
Yep, gummy bears. So I have a little pocket on my bike, and I just had gummy bears in my
That makes
pocket.
sense.
Yep.
And it's something you can chew on for a second too.
Yep.
So it gives you
Pop
something to
them,
do.
and they're
Yeah.
easy to like pop in and out. And again, like just one or two
I think
at a
they
time.
make a gummy, like a protein gummy thing
And
that's
they
like
have-
5 grams of protein per or every 2 of them or something.
I don't know about that, but I have seen like in the running world, I feel like the jelly bean, like caffeine
Maybe that's what I've
jelly
seen, yeah.
beans are very popular also. So things like that, again, just the quick energy and
Right. Well, and that's why I was
sugar.
asking about rice. Is I found, and I've actually been doing this probably for the last month. I buy those little heat up rice things, and I attempt to do half to a full cup of rice within an hour.
Yeah.
30 minutes at the latest, but all the way up to 60 minutes out. And I find that I perform better when I work out. And I think literally my body's like, this is the one time, like, just give me some carbs,
Exactly.
some decent carbs that's not going to weigh me down. Rice doesn't weigh you down if you don't have more than a cup.
Right.
But it
It's
does
light.
seem
It's
to,
just, it's perfect.
it seems to give you fuel.
Yes,
So, but
I
I do
agree.
white rice.
Yeah, but that's
brown
sugar
rice.
too.
Brown rice is fine as well.
But white rice is perfect for sugar and carbs, like what you
Yeah.
need. And so it's perfect. Yeah. So and then I have a honey flask, literally, so that I like filled with honey. So I had a honey flask in my jersey pocket for a
So
little
you
shots of
were
energy.
good to go on this third one. Like you
Yes,
you were living
nailed
high
it.
on the hog. It
Yes.
sounds like compared
Yes.
to the first two.
I was super stoked. Nailed it. Felt really positive with everything. This is a shout out. This is super cool. So this was my third Ironman in Arizona, and it was my brother's first Ironman. So it's like super cool to be able to do that with him. And then my friend Lindsay also did it with us. But my brother and I started the swim together. So we literally like walked into the lake or into the river.
Oh, this is the third one?
Yep, this is the third one. We walked into the river together, which was super cool to like be there with him at the start. And then we ended up exiting the water at the exact same time. Like had no idea. So we're running, we were like, get out of the water. It was wetsuit legal. So you're trying to.
So when is mom and dad going to start doing it? I mean, you might as well just involve
They
the whole
are the
family.
best Sherpas, though. They show up to cheer and support.
Do they really?
Oh yeah. They are.
That's awesome.
Yes, they are our Sherpas. They're amazing. So yeah, we had the whole squad. The whole squad was there. We roll deep when we come to events. And so
You can't fail then. You don't have a choice.
No. Again, that community is key. The support is key. It's
Accountability.
Ironman, yeah, and Ironman is an individual sport, but it really takes the team. So we haven't talked about like my fiance is super supportive with everything because training takes time, and so it's a balance of social life, personal life, training, food, like figuring out everything. So it's hard, and I will say that my first Ironman I took very seriously and took the training plan very seriously, which made my social life difficult,
Right?
Because its balance was hard.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Was hard to figure what that looked like, and being so nervous. You know what I mean? Like you're like, I need to train, I need to do this, and stick to this.
Well, yeah, there are times friends want to hang out. I'm like, sorry, I got the gym in an hour. I can't come hang out tonight.
Right. Or you're like, I can't go party or go out with you tonight because I need to wake up at 6 a.m. to do this, and I don't want to feel like garbage.
Or you do, and then you're just like, this is
a
I
mistake.
gotta be.
Yeah. You're like, dang, this training.
This
did
was
not
not
go
a good
well.
idea.
Yeah. So that's been another interesting part of trying to maneuver through Ironman. But again, it's just that community support. It's not an individual sport, and I think my brother would say the same thing about his wife, of being just very supportive of the time commitment that it takes. And so
Now you just got to convince them to do it with you, though. Then
the spouses, the
yeah.
plus ones,
yeah.
We'll
Because
see.
then they're training. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I would think training with you would be good, but you never know.
Yeah, it's fair.
I have one client that I'm always getting on. I was like, just go down, and because sometimes she complains that she doesn't have time to get to the gym or whatever, and I'm like, just go down when your husband. She's like, my husband he just makes fun of me the whole time I'm down there, and I'm like,
it's not helpful.
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I got on him, and he's like, I just can't help myself. She does it to herself, and I'm like, come on, man.
You gotta have.
But
hey, that's support.
She literally is uncomfortable working out when her husband's working out because I guess he gives her hard enough time that it demotivates her.
That's not good. That's not
like,
good.
come on.
Yeah.
And he's not even that type of guy. That's the funny thing. He's like the nicest guy in the world.
You never know. I feel like being an athlete brings out different things in different people.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
that
You
is
never know.
true.
You never
That is
know what
true.
you're gonna get. So this third Ironman was cool to be able to do that with my brother, and
Right.
And then when we came out of the water, I came out and so I'm in a wetsuit. So you're trying to take your wetsuit off while you're running to transition to be as time efficient as possible. And my friend's husband yells, "Go Joneses." And I was like, Joneses? Like, that's weird. And then I hear my brother yell to my dad, like, "Where's Natalie? Did she already get out?" And I was like, I'm here. And I like turned around and my brother was literally like right across from me. And so that was cool to be able to, then we like met up and were able to like run through transition together. So that was cool.
And then you blew past him in the bike and he never caught up.
Well, he did catch up, but yeah, so we were able to finish the swim together. And then for the bike in Arizona, there was a horrible headwind.
Now, are you feeling a lot more comfortable on the bike now? Like, is there any discomfort compared to the first two races?
I'm very comfortable.
And how far spread out are we in between each race, roughly?
Because of COVID, this one was a little further. Ended up being more like 2 years out.
Okay.
But they had been a year in between the first and the second one, and then about 2 years in between for the third one.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but my brother and I had biked across the U.S. at this point, so I had already been on my bike a lot, so I was very comfortable with biking at this point. And now I would consider myself a cyclist, and cycling is now my favorite discipline. So it used to be running, and now it's the bike. So yeah, so I was able to, for some reason, I don't know why, I am very good with headwinds. I don't know why. I like, I guess, the grittiness of it. Like, you have a headwind coming at you, just gotta
just like add a challenge
deep, and you're like, let's go, like, let's just push. And I
tunnel vision.
Yeah, I like it. So it was difficult because the course was an out and back twice, and so you go out and you are climbing basically uphill, and you have a headwind, so it sucks and it's just brutal. And then as soon as you make the turnaround, you're going downhill and you have a tailwind, so you're just like flying. So it was an interesting course in terms of struggle, pain, dark place, and then you're like, let's go, like, this is great, like, just cruising. And so yeah, so I was able to beat my brother on the bike, which felt good. And then he caught up with me on the marathon and was able to
is he faster at the run than you?
Yes.
Okay.
He is a machine. Yes.
Now, is this his first?
This was his first.
Okay.
Yeah. So he had done, I think, 2 halves at this point. So he had done some smaller and like medium-sized races for a triathlon. So was not a newbie to the triathlon world, but to this distance, he was new. And it was his first one, so he had learning experiences to go through as well. So he had some GI issues during it, which I think is it's kind of normal. And you just have to figure out what foods you can eat. Exactly. You just have to figure out. It's a long day, and there's a lot that can go wrong throughout the day. And every race is different, even though it's the same distance. Like, courses are different, the weather is different, and you just never know what to expect. Right. So yeah, so it was perfect. My race went almost as well as it could in terms of what I had planned to do. Was able to PR again, and so got like 14:30. So I was super happy with that. And then again, so
the ceiling isn't coming down yet.
That's right. That's why I'm like,
that ceiling's still way up there.
So that's why it's fun to do Ironman, because I feel like for me it's fun, I guess, to do Ironman because I learn something new every time I do it. And then I just hone in on that skill. Right. And then when I am able to then race again, I'm like, okay, that went well. Now I need to tweak and manipulate this little section. Do you feel
like it will demotivate you some if you get to a point where you start to, I guess not slide backwards, but where you hit your best time and then that's it, and then you can't get there again?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, I think that's something too that could definitely happen. But I think Ironman is long enough to where you have that time to increase. You know what I mean?
Right. Like you've still got a handful more Ironmans where you think you can get better time. What is like a good finishing time? Like someone that actually like the top 100 or something like that.
They crush it. So I think that they finish it in like 8 hours. It's insane.
Oh, so you have if you keep improving, then you have a pretty big ceiling.
Those are the professionals. Those are the people who are
right. But if you keep training, you're still way far from.
Yeah, I would say for my age range, like 10 to 13 hours is probably crushing it. You could be getting in there. Maybe a couple more, like training. Maybe, but I know that I'm not fast. I'm not a fast human being, but I will.
You will not give up.
Yes, I do not quit. I will stay in it. And so that's my only, I feel like, positive in terms of the Tunnel
Like,
vision.
you're going to complete it.
Yes, I will not stop. And that's what my friend Lindsay has done 3 Ironmans as well, and a half. I think she's only done 1 half. And she's the grittiest person I know. She will finish it no matter what. She will say, and
that's amazing.
Yeah, she's not a quitter, and that's what
kind of people I need to be doing exercise with.
Yeah, we will not stop, but we make it fun. So it's like it's all about that.
Well,
that
right, and you want that challenge.
Yeah.
But that you want to enjoy that challenge.
Yes.
Like my Sunday Fun Day, it's every week I make it a challenge, and I hate it. Like when I realize I'm only halfway done with it, and I'm like, oh man, I still got twice. I got another half to do. But I really, really do enjoy that feeling of being completed and being like, man, I did something great for my body and for my mind.
And that's what I think is just the biggest thing that I love about being active in general is that it should be a celebration, right, of what our bodies can do. And challenging ourselves is great, and putting ourselves in new situations, doing something new, doing something scary is good for us to learn how to adapt and put ourselves in these uncomfortable positions, but remain safe. But it shouldn't be a punishment, like it should be a joyous experience. And so I think that that's something that, as I've matured, I guess, as an athlete, is something that I've definitely focused on. It should not be the punishment, or it should not be, you need to go in the gym and kill yourself and that's a good workout. Like you have other ways of enjoying being active. And that's why I think I like Ironman, is that I just truly enjoy being outside. And so
the versatility of the different exercises.
Yeah, you're always doing something different throughout the week because you're doing swimming, biking, running, strength, mobility, all of that.
Why'd you end up stopping CrossFit? You seem like you have the mentality that like CrossFit really like pertains to.
Yes, I really enjoyed it when I was there. And I definitely think that I noticed that I was becoming too competitive and kind of slipping into this like unhealthy practice of just being obsessed with it. And
do you think that happens to a lot of CrossFitters?
For sure. But I don't think that that's always a bad thing, and it takes, people would say the same thing about Ironman. It takes an obsession and like a, a different mindset. You just
didn't think it was a good thing for you.
Correct. Yep. I still will go back and train and do CrossFit. So I've gone back to Man of War CrossFit and done Murph and stuff. So I always do that. And
I hate Murphs.
Yes.
I can't do it with the weight though. I have to do it body weight only.
I should say, yes. I have never done it RX'd. I've always scaled it. But things like that, I definitely think that strength training is key for injury prevention, with Ironman especially. And so I try to make sure that I do that at least 1 to 2 times a week. But it looks a little different. So I do more kettlebell, dumbbell, resistance band type of stuff, and like some sled.
So you do dynamic movement strength training
for sure.
Because that's what translates into your everyday movement, right? Yep.
A lot of stability stuff.
Yeah.
And like things
so
like
that when your body gets put in those positions, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've been here before. I can handle this. I'm not going to tear.
Yeah. And it's I'm not trying for that 1 rep max. I'm not working towards, not doing any Olympic lifting. And it's just the cardio, like how many reps, like basically can I do? Because that's
conditioning.
What
really, it's just really good conditioning for. So taking from, I guess, your very first Ironman and the way that you trained all the way through this last one and going into, I'm sure there's a 4th one on the horizon.
So I have 2 races coming up that I'm super stoked about.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm doing my first half. So I'm doing my first 70.3 in Chattanooga. So that's in May. And then I am doing Ironman Alaska. So I'm super stoked about that. And that's we'll see how that goes.
Oh, it's going to be a blast. When are you doing it?
That's in August.
So will it be colder there or still be somewhat?
It'll be, I think, the perfect temperature for outdoor activities.
The water is going to be.
The water is going to be frigid.
You're going to need that suit.
Yep. You've already
got it.
Full wetsuit will be ready. I might even get like the hat and booties. We'll see.
Going full throttle.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah, it's not going to be warm water.
Yes, I'm sure it's like glacier-fed lakes.
But I guess once you get through that would probably be the worst part.
Yeah.
Mentally, at least.
Yeah, so I think this will be my first time. So like I said, I think I said this earlier, I've picked my races very strategically. So Florida, Texas, Arizona were pretty flat. Like there's climbing.
Right.
But
so this one should be a little more challenging?
Yeah, so this is it's categorized on the Ironman website as a hilly climb. So a hilly bike and then a flat run. So this will be an interesting bike ride. Yeah.
Going back to my question of like how your training regimen has changed all the way up to like how you're training now. Yeah. And maybe a little bit of like far as how how your diet was arranged from then to now too, kind of like things that you did and tried to stay with, and what's changed, what hasn't changed, what did you learn in that aspect, and what are things that people could do, if they're listening, they want to do an Ironman, what are something that that will work if they train a certain way?
Yeah, so I think for me, so I'll kind of just say overall first, one of the things that has really helped me with Ironman training is getting away from mileage. So I never track or I never work on a run or a bike for miles. Like I'm never going to say, I'm going to go get 60 miles in today on my bike, or I'm going to go run 5 miles. It's always, I'm going to go out for 3 hours, or I'm going to go out for an hour run.
And you don't track it?
I do track it, but it's more of I'm more worried about the duration. Okay. Yes.
Just getting your body used to that conditioning, I'm guessing,
correct.
Right?
So it doesn't matter. The distance does matter later on, obviously, but not worried about distance.
If you can't run for 3 hours, then
it doesn't
the
matter.
miles don't. The miles don't matter anyways.
Yeah. So I think it seems more doable for some reason than focusing on time versus miles. So that's the first thing. The overall, from my first and second race, I created my own training program. So I did a lot of research myself, just on Google, and trying to figure out, some free training plans and what to do, and kind of meshed them all together to fit my needs. And then that worked, obviously, a little bit, but after my first and second, especially after my second one went so well for me, I wanted to take it more seriously. So I actually got a coach. So for my third race, I worked with organic coaching and with Carly, and had a coach the entire time.
So did she come up with your workout program for you?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we were able to communicate via apps.
Did that change the game for you? I mean, going from trying the first 2 races and trying to figure things out on your own to having someone help structure the training, I guess, in a manner of speaking?
Yeah. Help structure, I think, again, we've mentioned like accountability, someone who I'm checking in with after my workouts. So I know that she's going to know if I didn't do, you know what I mean? Like having that is helpful. And then I guess we were in the time of COVID. So I actually got COVID while I was training for my Ironman, and that mentally freaked me out a lot. And
you just worry about your lungs in the long term?
Yeah, and I was about a month and a half away from the race day. So I was in my peak. Like I should have been peaking during that time. And so mentally, I think I could have spiraled quickly. And having a coach and someone there who was, hey, you're going to be okay. Like, let's get through this. And then we're going to slowly build back up to where you are. You've already done so much.
You already got the muscle memory.
Yeah, you're going to be okay. Like, I think having that person there really helped me through that, not only mentally but physically, because I think for me, knowing myself, if I wouldn't have had a coach, I think I would have tried to go out too hard and I would have tried to like immediately hop back into where I should have been, and that probably could have done more damage than good instead of easing back up to where I was. And obviously I still PR'd and I still felt fine.
PR'd by another hour.
Yeah, so good to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it all worked out. So I think, again, just having a coach.
And what are some things that she had you do that are different than what you were doing that you found like, oh my God, this is okay. Why wasn't I doing this?
I think she helped me a lot in the pool, because I think for me, I already had that confidence in the water.
Right.
And so I didn't really focus on it a lot. And so I think that was important. I did a lot more pool workouts than I had done previously. And that helped. My time for swimming didn't necessarily get super, didn't cut it in half or anything like that. But how I felt coming out of the water, it was noticeable. So I was able to.
So when you're ready to jump right onto the bike, you were in a better mental place.
Yep. And I wasn't tired. I definitely utilized it as a warm up, but it was like, okay, that was great. You know what I mean? So that helped. For me, it was really helpful also on the bike. I obviously loved cycling at this point and became super confident with the bike. And so that became my go-to place. And so Zwift is a great app that you can download and use if you have a trainer at home. So you can hook your bike onto a trainer, and it can be
and it comes up on a screen, and you feel like kind of like a Peloton, but but
it's Zwift.
But you kind of build all the pieces together.
Yes, yeah. So you have a
Okay.
stationary bike. So your
So
bike.
did you do a lot of stationary bike practice
Yes.
versus going out on open roads?
It was a mix, but
Okay.
yes, a lot of my like during the week were on my bike Zwifting.
Does that translate to biking comfortably enough?
It's definitely, again, just time in the saddle.
Right.
And then I have a smart trainer, so it can adjust and make it difficult and harder as if you were climbing. And so that was a really good tool. And you can use Zwift. You have to pay for the app, but you can use it. You don't need like a coach to use it.
Right.
And they actually have, my brother utilized it, and they have training plans, on
My
there.
PT, I think that's what he uses.
Yeah.
He would practice on his lunch break. He had a bike set up in his office.
Yeah, so it's a perfect tool
Okay.
to help focus on bike skills. And
Now, did you start that going into the third race then? Using that or using that?
I had actually utilized Zwift before for the second race.
So
Also.
that probably did help you.
Yeah,
that got you more comfortable on the bike too, I bet.
Yeah, but for my second Ironman, when I was utilizing Zwift, I would just like hop on and be like, I'm just going to be on here for an hour, and I would just pick the today's ride and just go for it. Whereas my coach had me actually doing workouts, like intervals and sprints or hill training and stuff like that. So it was a little more specific and honed in, or focused on hitting a certain power, hitting a certain wattage, like while I was on the bike during certain segments. And so that I think was really helpful as well. So just definitely made it, I think working with a coach made things where I was ready to push the limits a little bit. She definitely gave me the room to do that and do it appropriately.
And you do the cycle bar as well, right?
Yes.
Does that help translate that those types of stationary bikes where you can put resistance and stuff like that?
Yeah. I like it.
Do you find that it gives you more power maybe during the Ironman because of that practice?
I think that it depends. It depends. So yeah, so I like Cycle Bar. I've been going there for a long time. Lindsay is actually, who I do Ironmans with, is actually the lead instructor at Cycle Bar Friends Farm. So she obviously does great with training and utilizing Cycle Bar and translating that into Ironman. I know a lot of road cyclists who don't like stationary classes like that. So again, I just think it depends on who you are,
on the person itself.
Yeah. I don't think it's obviously not going to hurt you.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not gonna digress you.
Yes, it's going to help. And for me, a lot of times cycling is a very lonely activity.
Okay.
Like you can't find a lot of people who want to go ride 70 miles with you. And while sometimes it's great to enjoy the scenery, and Kentucky's a beautiful place to bike through, going back into a studio and being at Cycle Bar, for me, I just enjoy it, one, because you're around people, and I don't train with music. So Ironman doesn't allow you to have headphones in for any portion of the race. So you're literally just with your thoughts the entire time. So I train that way. And so I don't train with music. I don't listen to podcasts like while I run or bike or anything like that.
Cycle Bar would make it a little more entertaining.
Yeah. So for me, like going to Cycle Bar, I'm like, let's go. Like I just get like totally different type of hype mentality with the music, and then I'm obviously competitive. So seeing, the stats on the screen in class definitely motivate me.
Oh yeah,
and
for
so,
sure.
Yeah. So for me,
I always got to be at the top of the board.
Yeah.
I just ignore the instructor and put the power up more and push harder.
I mean, it's your ride. Yeah. So you can do what you want to do. So for me, that's what I like utilizing it as like that fun supplement. So during the week, I would, do Cycle Bar and then go out for long rides on the weekend. So yeah.
So what did your, diet from the first Ironman to the last Ironman kind of look like? What's changed? What hasn't changed?
Honestly, a lot has not changed.
Okay.
So my diet has stayed pretty similar. I actually was a vegetarian in college and through grad school. So I've always been very plant-based, I would say. And that's translated to who I am now.
Do you eat meat at all right now?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. So we say that we are, I don't know what the proper term is, but we say that we're plant-based. So we rarely buy meat. But if I'm going out, I'll most likely order meat. And then if I'm at someone's house or, going out with friends or going to an event, I'm not going to like say, I will only eat this. I'll eat what they serve.
You're not going to be that person?
I'm not going to be that person. Yeah. So, so I think that for me, again, like whole foods has always been my mentality. A big fan of sweet potatoes. I love
Who doesn't like
sweet potatoes. I love eggs. I love any vegetable.
Do you have a calorie or macro that breakdown, or do you just?
No, so I don't actually track that.
Okay.
I think I could if I wanted to.
Oh, we all can. It's time consuming. That's the problem.
It's time consuming, and For me, I just don't think that it would be a positive. And so I know people who do it, and who love it, and like weigh their food, not only just the counting and like MyFitnessPal, but really are very structured with that. And for me, again, it goes back to enjoying life and being able to enjoy what my body can do. And I want to also be able to enjoy food. And,
yes, very much
it's
so. I want to enjoy food too often,
yes.
though.
Yes, it's all about balance.
It is 100%.
And so that's one thing that I think that, again, I just try to focus on fuel. And right now, it's hard for me through ebbs and flows of training, actually, because I'm used to eating. I can eat a lot of food. I eat a lot.
Well, yeah, if you're training, if you're going 3 or 4 hours, I mean, like that,
yes.
your body needs fuel.
Yes. So I'm used to eating a lot. And so for me, it's hard when I'm like over, I'd hit obviously during the holidays, but like during my off time where I wasn't training at high intensity, I'm like, I should be eating, or I still want to
your
eat
body,
the amount.
So if you're doing a weightlifting program and you're going really heavy and you're eating a lot, then you go to like something different. Your body still's like, I still want all that food that you're putting in me.
Still eat, right? And I'm like,
no, I'm not working you as hard anymore. You don't need the food.
Yeah. So that's like the hardest part with nutrition. But again, I think for me, the nutrition that I've learned from Ironman is more like during race day nutrition. Okay. And so that's what has, again, just realizing that, okay, supplements or artificial stuff is not going to sit well with me. I can't digest that quickly. Like in real life, I can eat that and it will be fine. But during motion, it does not work. And so just learning what my body can handle has been key.
Okay. So. Now, do you think that if you dialed in on your current nutrition in between races, do you think that would help?
Yeah, I think, again, like I said, like Ironman has more than 3 disciplines. Like nutrition is definitely one of them. And that goes to race day nutrition as well as just fueling your body during training. So I think that dialing in nutrition could definitely show some type of improvement.
But then you may lose. But there's the balance of like, well, I'm not enjoying life as much because I can't have anything that I want to eat.
And we have friends who do bodybuilding and Olympic lifting and even rock climbing who take diet and nutrition very seriously. And they're fun people, but it's hard to hang out with them sometimes because they won't go out to eat because they're, only eating certain foods. And so it's difficult. So for me, I just think that focusing on eating healthy, listening to my body, trying to figure out what I need. I will say I've worked with nutritionists. So I know you've had Lauren on the show.
Yeah, she was fantastic.
Yeah, so I've worked with her before.
I sent pretty much all my clients that need nutrition help, I send them to her because she's done great with them too.
She's amazing. Yeah, so she helped me a lot in my training for my second Ironman and just making sure that I was eating enough. Because again, I feel like females tend to have that like we are afraid of eating a lot, but we need to eat food. And so she helped me with that as well as kind of figuring out how much weight loss I was going through.
Right. Because you don't need to lose any weight.
Well, and like how much weight loss I was going through, even just cycling, like from sweat, like how much I was losing. So then how much do I need to be replenishing during
so just
activity?
Really breaking down that to the...
So she had me, like weigh myself before I went into a cycling training session. And then...
How much did you lose? And I guess how long did you go in for?
I forget the time frame, but I ended up losing like 2 or 3 pounds within. So I sweat. I'm a sweater. I sweat a lot. And so then it was like, okay, this is why I needed to start doing salt, like base salt, to help hold water and help hold nutrition.
Retain, yeah.
Yep. And then keep on drinking. So definitely was not drinking enough on the bike as I needed to. And so little things like that, like working with a nutritionist and working with someone is really helpful if you have access to that.
Yeah. If you can financially afford it.
Yes. Yeah.
A nutritionist and a coach would be ideal if you're serious about an Ironman.
Yeah. But again,
you did it without.
I did it first.
You struggled through it, but you got there.
Yeah. So you can figure it out. And I know, my friend Lindsay has done 3 and she's never had a coach. My brother did it and he never had a coach and he finished in like 14 hours. So you can do it.
Oh yeah, 100%. Just mind over power, mind
over
will, or muscle, whatever.
Yep. Mind over muscle.
Mind over everything.
Yes, it's a mental game for sure. So yeah, I think that's what I like about Ironman is like there's always things to learn, always things to improve, which is what keeps bringing me back. And then it's just I've been lucky enough to be able to do them with friends and with family, and so like I said, like we roll in deep with a whole squad of people. So it just makes it fun. It's just like a full week of festivities leading up to the race, and then it is on.
And then you finish it, and you're like, yes.
Yeah, let's hang out. Yeah.
Let's go again.
Yeah, basically. Yes.
When do I go again?
Yes.
So one thing that we really haven't talked about is you got the pleasure of biking across the country.
I did.
And
it was amazing.
I want to hear this story.
Oh my gosh.
Like
So
this is
we
another big, to me, this is like another big achievement on top of doing
Yes.
3 Ironmans. Like so how many miles did you bike altogether? From
It
start
was
to
like
finish?
3,500 something
Okay.
miles.
How long did it take?
55 days. So
Okay.
about 2 months.
About 2 months.
Yep. Yep.
So you just took 2 months off and decided, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. We were, I say that Zach and I are, so he's my brother and we're very close.
So apparently you guys are getting out of the water at the same time. Like
our timing is great. And I think we're in just like a vulnerable spot during COVID. Like
Okay.
both of us had signed up for Ironman races and they were being canceled.
Right.
Other things were being canceled. And so, we're in a rough spot. And basically I saw something on Facebook about this female who had just biked across the US. And I was like, interesting. Like, what is this about? I have never heard about people doing this. And so I looked into it and then I just sent it to my brother and was like, hey, like, look at this. And he was like, interesting. And I was like, you want to do it? And he was like, yeah, I'm down. And so that was really it. Literally, we talked about it at Thanksgiving of, I guess, 2020, November 2020. We talked about it and we were like, haha, this would be fun. We could do this. And then we kept talking about it. And so then it was like on Christmas, we were like, okay, we should try to figure out if this is possible and like how we do this. And so we both went and talked to our directors and our bosses, and they were supportive. Like that was the first step, right? Of figuring out,
right. Can I even
we take off work to do this?
Right.
And
this would have been the time to do it though.
Yeah.
Cause like, this is like
We
when
were-
they need you the least amount,
yeah,
probably.
it was just crazy. So we both had the privilege of our workplace allowing us to take time off. Granted, we used, vacation days or like unpaid days. So we had to negotiate that. So we were taking a leave of absence, obviously. But they were okay with that. And we still had our jobs to come back to. So that was a positive. And then, yeah, we just did it. And that's what.
So what were some of the best and worst things that you guys went up against or enjoyed?
I think, again, for us, both of us are the same way in terms of go big or go home. And like people asked us all the time, like, why did you do this? Like, what did you, and we were like, why not? Yeah. Like we can do it. Like we're healthy now. Like let's do it. We don't know when we're
in a place where we can still
Yeah.
have a job.
Yeah.
We have money in our bank account.
Yeah.
Like,
let's go. Let's see what
Right.
happens. And we're healthy. Like both of us don't have kids right now, so it's like no concern. So we just kind of were able to go into it. And for us, again, this is what's crazy. We did it. You can either do supported or
I'm guessing there's already a trail
unsupported.
or a
Yes.
path kind of
Yes.
predestined.
So we utilized the Western Express. So we biked from San Francisco, California to Pueblo, Colorado, and then hopped on the Transamerica Trail from Colorado to Virginia.
Okay.
So that's what we utilized. And Adventure Cycling is the company that's a nonprofit organization that has like 50,000 miles worth of routes within the U.S. And so we paid them for our route. So we had like old school maps
Oh, wow.
that
Okay.
had the route. And then my brother also paid for the GPS coordinates. So he has a bike computer. So literally we had like turn-by-turn GPS on his computer. So we had the backup of the paper maps, which was helpful to review each night, as we're going through the next day.
So you knew how far you
Yep.
mapped out how far you're going to get each day. And
Yep,
like,
because that was the hardest part in terms of trying to figure out, okay, where are we going to stay? Like, where are we going to get food? Where are we going to get supplies? Because there were some places where I would say Nevada was actually the hardest part. We were on Highway 50, basically the entire state, but there was like 70 miles between each town. So it was literally, Highway 50 is known as the loneliest highway in America. So there's nothing there. There's nothing. And so you're literally just going from...
Did you have food, I guess, with you then?
Oh, yeah. We had to pack everything. So we did it I would say like somewhere in between the supported and unsupported. So we had panniers on our back, back of our bikes. And so we carried everything. My brother actually started with 4 bags, and then we realized we don't need that much stuff, so got rid of things. But yeah, we each had 2 bags and then little bags and like handlebar bags.
Like a tent?
Oh yeah. My brother carried a tent. Yeah. We had sleeping bags. So literally had only 2 cycling outfits, 1 human like outfit for the town, and sleeping, and that was it. Sleeping clothes, and then so very minimal.
Of course.
2 months, like carrying everything on our bikes. Our bikes actually weighed like 75 pounds, which was pretty heavy. And so we probably could have limited things, but we did a great job of navigating that.
So it was 75 pounds of stuff that you had extra.
Yep, that we were pulling. Yeah.
That makes biking without that 75 pounds easier.
Yes. So I definitely built up my strength. So like training for Ironman Arizona. So we were doing.
I didn't even think about that. That really probably does translate to helping with your future Ironman endeavors.
Solid. Well, I was.
Did you do this in between 2 and 3?
Yes. Yep. So it was like basically training for Ironman Arizona. I biked across the country. Okay. So it was building confidence with cycling as well as strength. Okay. So we became really strong with obviously very different mentality, but very strong with that. And so for us, Zach and I both had never done bike packing before, where you have bags on your bike. Like we had never done this before.
I like it.
And so literally the day before we left, he lives in San Francisco, so we are in that area. And so the day before we were like, we should probably put the bags on our bikes, right? And like see what this feels like. And so literally the day before was the first time that you guys had actually with bags on our bikes.
Wow.
So total noobs. And so that was, I think, for us, an exciting part of it, of just experiencing that together and learning on the go what works and what doesn't and figuring it out.
Sweet. So what was, I guess, food like? Did you guys eat out a lot, like when you were able to stop in like towns and stuff like that?
Yes, food was out of control. So
I think this is one of the few times where like you might be outworking your diet.
Yes, and it was insane. Like we were burning like 6,000 calories a day, and so trying to replace that was...
Were you really burning that many probably?
Yes.
How many miles were you trying to get a day on average?
We were averaging around 75 miles a day. And so some days
so just a century ride a day, no big deal.
Yeah.
For 55 days.
Yeah, some days we were doing century rides. And so we did, I think our longest day was actually like 120.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And so we were pushing it.
Did you have rest days as well then?
We did have a few sprinkled in there, but I think we only took 4.
So you maybe could have done it like 50, 51 days or something if you had really pushed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will say that we did it, our approach was a little differently than other people who we ran into on the trail. So a lot of people were just taking their time and just enjoying it and had an infinite amount of days to be out there. And we both had a strong, like, we need to be back like logged in at this time. So we were pushing against the clock.
Right. Yeah. You're like, we got to do this.
Yeah, we can do this, but
would you have 60 days or a little bit more than 60 days?
Something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So you had a few days to rest too when you got home.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it was definitely a grind in terms of other people that we met were taking it more of a leisurely pace and enjoying the surroundings. But it was interesting because a lot of the people who we met also, some of them were retired, so this was like their retirement gift to themselves.
Right.
And so they had a lot of time, and they were even
they were on vacation.
Right.
You were on a mission. There's
Correct.
a difference. Vacation, mission.
True. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. So our mission was a little different, but they were even saying when you're on a bike, even 3 miles or 6 miles is a long time, right? So as you're going on the trail, this one guy that we ran into said that this was his second time biking across the U.S. actually. And he was like, this time I'm retired, so I'm going to take my time. I'm going to go to some of these things that are off route and kind of check out the different national parks or different museums along the way. And then he said that he did that for the first couple of days and then was like, nope, I'm out, because they're just far enough off the trail, right?
To where it makes it
makes a difference. So you're like, oh, it's 6 miles away, but that's 12 miles. And then I still have to bike the next day.
That's a good 45 minutes to an hour, maybe more, depending on how tired you are.
Yep. So you're like, is it worth it? Probably
I
not.
think it's only worth it if you're spending the night there and then you bike back onto the trail the next day, maybe.
Fair.
If it's a big enough,
Yeah.
something like the world's largest rubber band ball. I mean, that's
Right,
worth
you gotta
6
see it.
miles.
Gotta see
largest boot, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep. Potato, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the world's largest potato.
Yeah. Gotta go check it out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it was interesting, but we were lucky to where we, food was just like constant. It was crazy. Like I have never been that hungry in my life. And like being
Did you guys do any buffets?
No. So
Okay, I was just wondering if you guys just tore a buffet up one day.
No, we didn't. We could have. Yeah, that would have been crazy. So we obviously utilized adventure cycling for the routes, and so the routes are amazing, and you get what you get for what you pay for. Like it's ideal, and they tell you where you can stay, like lodging, whether it's camp or like tent, whether it's going to. There's different hostels actually along the route that are just for cyclists, or hotels and different restaurants and places to go. So it's amazing. And they're really helpful when it comes to planning like each day where you're going to go. For us, because of the adventure cycling route, they on purpose take you through, like back roads, and you're not going through major cities. So you're going through small town America throughout the whole country. So it became interesting in terms of checking out like local diners and like local places.
Right. A lot of mom and pop type places.
Exactly.
Did you find some amazing food then along the way?
Some amazing food, amazing people who were just like super gracious and really generous. We had people, offer to pay for our meals. People who, oh yes, like it was just so kind. And that's one of the things that we were excited about of doing this is knowing that there are good people, in the world, and that at the heart of everyone is just like mankind and like being generous and helpful to our neighbor. And that's what people were
I like to think there's more people like that than the world or social media makes it out to be.
Correct. Exactly. And I think that's what, during COVID, there was a lot of negativity going around in the world and a lot of cultural changes that are happening. And so it was nice to just go out and see strangers and have that generosity and helpfulness
and see
shown
it
to us.
Person.
Yes. So some really kind people, even when we were on the side of the road, if we had stopped for a break, like a water break or a food break,
people would stop and check on you?
People would stop and check on us, be like, are y'all okay? Or do you need anything? We had people literally hand us food and beverages, like out of their car. Like people were so nice. And like, so I think again, like just humanity, like it was important to see that. And so, yeah, but food was key. So we always had to make sure that we had enough snacks like packed.
So what did you eat on days where you didn't? I'm guessing there were days where you were just, it was more biking and just bike in between you camping.
So Nevada is that perfect example of literally.
Is that the Highway 55?
Yeah, Highway 50.
Or Highway 50,
Highway 50, and literally like from the time we woke up until we got to our landing spot, nothing. There was nothing in between. So we had to make sure that we had
Did people
enough water.
see you? Like, people were driving.
Yeah, people were driving, but it definitely was lonely. So not a lot of cars, which is great. Again,
did you put music in or anything like that?
Nope.
Did you guys talk a lot while you were biking?
We did talk. But not as much as you would think. But we did talk a lot. So
it takes
energy, and then depending on where we were, we could bike, side by side. But other times we would have to, be in a line, so we couldn't talk to each other because of safety.
Right.
And so. Yeah, so it was interesting, but for food wise, we always made sure that we both carried bladders.
Okay.
So we had 6 water bottles on our bike, and then we had bladders that we would fill up when we knew that we were going to go through these long stretches, like just in case, to have that reserved, because we did not.
Did you conserve water on those longer?
We didn't conserve it per se, but we were aware of like how much we were utilizing, and just always making sure that
you could easily drink a full six is 96.
Yeah, 96 we had like
ounces?
a 5 liter
and a 5 liter. Okay.
Yeah. And then we always made sure that we like at a gas station had like a Powerade or something that we would pack. And so we never ran out of water. And we ran into some other cyclists that we felt were pushing it, like they would risk it a little bit. And to where one of the guys that we ran into even had a sign that was like, "Can you spare water?" that he put on his bag, so that cars could see it. And we were like, we do not want to be put in that situation where we're at. We need.
Did you spare some water for the poor guy?
He was fine when we would see him, but when he told us that, we were like, "Ooh, that's close." Like we don't.
Right.
Always wanted to make sure that we had enough food and water, so we always packed snacks. But on those days where we had stretches, we would stock up the night before at like a gas station, because a lot of the times that was really kind of all we had. There wasn't necessarily
So a lot of snacks,
grocery
really.
store.
A lot of not actual food, but more.
A lot of muffins.
Okay.
Muffins, like those big, like
full carbs.
big muffins.
Carbs and sugar. It's not like
exactly.
not like it's going
Carbs and
anywhere
sugar.
other than being burnt.
Yep. So carbs and sugar. Trail mix was huge.
Yeah, trail mix,
a lot of trail
that makes
mix.
sense.
We ate a lot of I forget the brand, but it's like in every grocery store. We would eat a lot of those like chicken Caesar wraps. You know what I'm talking about? Like
oh, yes.
like in the a deli
Yes.
section, like they're pre-wrapped.
There's like 10 different options.
Yes. Yeah. So that was like almost everywhere. So we would eat that.
Were you just eat them right out of the bag?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And like if there were different places, like, you know, we had like turkey subs, like depending on like things like that, we would try to like, or Lunchables. We did Lunchables a lot, and things like that. So just, again, a lot of snacks, all the time. And we would eat every hour, like making sure that we were eating every hour. And then we would have like a lunch, of our Lunchable or whatever. And then we would just keep snacking. And if we knew that there was a climb like coming up, we would stop a little bit before the climb and try to like prepare our bodies with food and
were there some pretty bad climbs? Some pretty...
Oh, for sure.
Really?
For sure. We, the highest that we climbed was 11,000, a little over 11,000 feet of elevation.
That high?
Yeah. So we did the Continental Divide, and that was like the highest peak for us. But a lot of...
I bet it was amazing, though.
It was beautiful.
Because you were going at a pace where you could really soak it up.
Really enjoy it. And so that's what... We ran into a police officer who was actually who was doing it, who was raising money... for police officers. I'm forgetting the foundation now, but it was basically for like PTSD for police officers. And he was amazing. And he was saying, you know, like you can travel across the US by plane and you can see different areas, but you're not really getting to experience it. You can drive.
Because you go by it so fast.
Yeah,
you can only digest so much information.
Yeah. You can drive through it, but again, you're going through at a fast pace. You're not actually interacting.
On a bike, you actually have time to get sick of it.
Yeah. On the bike, you have time to really soak it in. And not only like you said, like take time to really like look at the views.
Well, you can stop and look too.
Yeah.
I mean,
you can pull over whenever you want, but then you also get that interactions with the community and with people. And I think that was like... Did
you run into a lot of other bikers then across?
Yeah,
there were a lot of
amount.
people.
Not, I mean, a lot is, you know.
Okay. So would you see a biker every 2 or 3 days?
So it depended on where we were.
Okay.
But yes. So, in California, when we were biking through California, we didn't really see anybody, maybe one person. And then when we switched to Nevada, because we were on that, like, you could only go from point A to point B, or else you're having to do like 140 miles a day, which no one's going to do. That's when we actually ran into the most people, because everybody was having to stay in the same towns.
Did you see anybody moving that fast that were trying
No, but we didn't actually, it was interesting because we didn't actually run into people during the day, because everyone would kind of wake up at their own time and like go and do their own thing. But for like 4 days in a row, we would run into the same 4 other cyclists. So there was a female who was doing it alone, a male who was doing it alone, and then a father-son duo who was doing it.
And they just all ended up hanging out?
And we all ended up, because we had to, everyone was staying in the same city. So it was cool to like meet them, and we would go out to dinner with them. We had beers with them one night. Like, it's just, so that was fun. It was like, and fun to know that there were other people out there, you know? And then one of the guys actually ended up saving our butts because he got ahead of us. Like, he was a full day ahead of us. And there was a section that, I forget what state we were in at this point. It may have been Colorado. And there was a whole section of road that was closed. They were like blasting an area. And it was...
You're on a bike, you can get through.
No, they had completely shut down from... It was like 8 to noon they were closed. And they only opened up from noon to 1. And then 1 to 5 it was closed. And then they opened up again. And so he was able... We had exchanged numbers. So he was able to give us a heads up, because it wasn't obviously marked... Like on the map, like we're not going to know that. And so we had to, that was like one of the crazy days where we were like, okay, we need to beat it before they close it in the morning so that we can
so you actually planned out.
Yeah, so he saved our butts, because we wouldn't have known, and we would have showed up probably around 10 a.m. and had to wait till noon, you know, to get through. And so we like woke up at 3 a.m. to hop on our bikes at 4 so that we could
make it there in time.
Yeah, and we were able to get through that construction zone. So Leo like saved our butts with that.
Good job, Leo.
Yeah,
if you're listening to this.
Yes, like he really did. So it was nice having, again, like knowing people who were out there who like as we went at our own pace, looking out for each other. Again, that humanity, everyone's just trying to help people finish. And so
That's the idea, at least.
Yeah. So it was great. So we ate a ton all the time. We would go to like Mexican restaurants, eat a full meal, like full plate. And then we'd go back to wherever we were staying and be like, okay, I'm hungry again. Like it was wild.
Burning an ungodly amount of calories.
Yeah, it was wild. So
did you lose weight over that 55 days?
I did. Yeah. So I actually was able to utilize UK at the Dietetics and Human Nutrition Lab. They have a bod pod. So it's actually, my brother and I both did a bod pod before and after. So it was pretty cool to see.
What were some of the drastic changes over that 55 days?
It wasn't a huge, it is, I guess, but not a huge change. So I lost a little bit of weight, but I put on 5 pounds of muscle. So I just packed on
5 pounds of muscle in 2 months is actually, especially not working out.
Yep.
Like, I guess you were working out, but not the traditional free weights.
Correct.
Right.
Did not touch a weight, just biking. But again, like we had weight on our bikes. We were pushing our body weight and the bikes. And then intense climbing and
you just wouldn't think about it. So you probably added a lot in the lower body, which is extremely important for you actually. Actually, it's important for anybody doing Ironmans.
Yep. Quad dominant for sure. Yeah. So it was so that was cool. So yeah, it was great. I definitely would recommend it to anyone.
Yeah,
I love it.
Go jump on a bike now and see what I can do.
Yes, exactly. Touring, it was so fun, and every day was different, and it was. That I think was the coolest part is you never knew what you were going to hit each day. Every day was different. Every state was different
and you probably got even closer with your brother.
Yes. Yeah.
Or you guys are further away. I don't know. After 55 days together.
It's hilarious. People talk about it. Actually, they've asked us this a lot. They were like, did you fight? Like, how did that go? Like siblings, like what's going on with that? To my knowledge, he might think differently, but to my knowledge, we really only had one tiff, and it was over food because we were both hangry and needed to find a place to eat, and we couldn't decide. So during it, we actually decided that when we first started, we made a pact with each other that we were only going to eat at local restaurants.
Yeah, I've done that before.
We wanted to support local.
But then when you're hungry, you're hungry.
Trip. Yeah, and so we ended up in this small town for July 4th, and of course, all of the local places were closed. So I was like, there are some chain restaurants here, so we got in a tiff about it, but we just needed food.
Hey,
that was it.
I mean, when McDonald's is the only option and I'm starving and I've been biking all day, I'll take it.
I was like, I need food. This is where we're going to go. I'm not going to spend another hour trying to find a local place that's open.
Right. No, and we're just spending more energy I don't have right now.
Yes, and I don't handle things well when I'm hangry.
I don't think most of us don't.
I'm like
things.
the Betty White commercial where I need a Snickers stat. Like that is how I am. So yeah, so that was really it. Everything else was pretty smooth sailing. Every day was different, different challenges, but it was a wonderful experience. I loved it. I'll do it again. Yeah, we actually
maybe I'll go with you next time. Yeah,
join us. We did the Western Express and then connected to the Trans Am. So we've already talked about doing the full Trans Am. So just doing the section that we missed. So we would start in Astoria, Oregon, and then come down to Pueblo, Colorado, and do that section of the Trans Am.
How many is that? 1,000 miles or something like that?
Maybe it might. Okay. I honestly don't know the distance,
but not as far as.
No, it's just so everyone who we met for the most part later on in the bike trip was on the Trans Am. So the Trans Am is
that the most commonly used one?
Yes, yeah, and the Western Express is shorter than the Trans Am little section from Astoria to Pueblo, but it's hillier because you're having to go through different mountain ranges, and so shorter distance but higher climbing. Okay. So it's, take what you want.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our next adventure plan whenever that happens.
Before we finish up on this amazing podcast that we've had so much fun today, any shout outs, anything you want to say to anybody? Any big projects, anything new coming up that you want to talk about?
I think the biggest thing, again, we've hit it home, is community, surrounding yourself with people who support you, who encourage you, and who build you up. And I think that has been something that I've been really blessed with being around, whether it comes from my parents, are a huge foundation for us. They were obviously around at every Ironman and come to everything. They even came to certain spots along the bike trail over the summer to be with us. So seeing them and their support is amazing. Having that family support, again, with my brother is outstanding. And then our spouses, we have aunts and uncles who are amazing and show up at all these events. Like, I'm sure they're like, my crazy niece and nephew, this is what they're doing, so we got to go support them. So
they support you so they don't feel guilty by not doing it themselves. Or like,
hey,
if we support them, then
being a support, I will say, so I've only Sherpa'd or been a what is that called, a viewer, I guess. I didn't race at an Ironman
Volunteer?
one time. No.
Spectator?
Yes, thank you. A spectator. I've only watched like one.
You don't even know the word because you're never the spectator. You're always the participator.
I just want to be the athlete. I just want, if I'm here, I might as well do it, right? And so, yeah, I was only a spectator once for my friend Lindsay for her Ironman, and it was hard. It was exhausting. It's a full day, too. It is a lot.
Do you do the Bluegrass 10K here in town?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually have always done that with my dad. Yeah.
Yeah, I did it when I was younger, and then I've done it a handful of times. I don't pay for it. I just run it and then get off right at the end.
Yeah. Again, it's just so fun to do things like that. So I think for me, being able to do races and different things and like cycle bar and having community and people who encourage you, all of my friends are amazing. Even though a lot of my friends do activities like this. Like I'm getting ready to actually do the Disney Princess Challenge in February with 2 of my girlfriends. So it's a 10K and a half marathon.
I was doing the Disney Prince Challenge very recently as well. Isn't that crazy?
Did you dress up? See, you have to wear a costume.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Full out. And my friend actually just got us like glitter and all this stuff. So
Where's this at?
It's at Disney World.
Oh, really?
Sounds
like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. So we've done the Disney Princess Challenge. We've done the Dopey Challenge, which is a 5K, 10K half, and a full. Okay. Like back-to-back 4 days in a row. And then the princess, again, is just like the 10K.
How many guys dress up as princesses and get out there?
A lot. There was a full squad the last time. That's awesome. Like they are big dudes in like full dress. It was amazing. So it's a lot of fun. And so again, just having friends that do it with me make it seem easier. Yeah. And just,
it makes it more fun. Yeah. And when you're having fun, it takes the mind off the pain, and then
you want to show up and hang out with your friends and just do it, and
then
so
beat them all and let them know who's boss.
There is some competitiveness.
There definitely
there's a little bit of like, what was your time? How you doing? How you doing? But yeah, so I think that for me, shout out to friends and family because that's who helps out.
All right. Well, friends and family, the shout out has been sent out.
Yes.
A few rapid fire questions. So, biking or running?
Biking.
All right. Yoga or gym? I know that's a hard one. Both are very beneficial.
So I will say right now, yoga and stretching and mobility has been a key focus of mine.
Mike's amazing with that stuff. And I haven't even gone to one of it. I have not had the time or the energy because I do my class and I'm like, I want to come to yours, but I'm so tired.
A lot. Yeah. So that has been my focus as of right now. So I do like the gym mentality, but I've focused a lot on my mobility.
The more mobile you are, at least for me, the less pain I have in my body because the less tightness I have. Yes. And that translates into a better quality of life for me.
All over the board. Yeah. And that's one thing, a quote that I really like. I don't know who said it, but it's, if you listen to your body when it whispers, you won't ever have to hear it scream. Yeah. And that's what I try to, as soon as I feel something, I'm like, okay, let's bring awareness to that and work on that.
Well, you might be sore and exhausted after lifting, but after yoga, usually you feel like a different type of, at least I like the hot yoga. So I feel like I'm like, oh my God, my body feels so good right now.
Yeah. Sterling is a great place to go for that.
I love Sterling. Yeah. I need to get a hold of their owner and get her onto the podcast.
Yes, she would be perfect.
We've talked about it. I've reached out to him. I just haven't followed up. So,
yeah.
All right. So, bar or dumbbells or kettlebells?
I guess right now I would say kettlebells or dumbbells.
Kettlebells and dumbbells.
But there was a time when the barbell was my best friend.
I love the bar.
Yes.
But there's things to be said about dumbbells and kettlebells that the bar does not offer.
It's true.
Especially with stability and balance.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Spinach or kale?
Oh, both. I always have both. Always.
Kale is as good as spinach to you.
Yes, I love kale.
Oh my gosh.
So my go-to is roasted sweet potatoes, kale, and eggs, and rosemary and thyme and feta, and that's like my go-to.
Spinach is so much tastier than kale to me.
I like spinach for like smoothies and like adding it into things like that because it's like you don't taste it as much. But I do like the roughage, so I'm torn.
Kale's a little crunchier though, if you like the crunch.
And I'm a texture
I don't like the
texture.
I don't like the texture as much. So.
That's fair.
And last one, chicken or beef?
Oh.
You a steak girl?
Yeah.
If you're a steak person, beef is always going to be the answer, right? You can't.
Yeah.
Chicken may be
And-
higher in protein and cleaner than,
Yeah.
than beef, but come on.
And I will say, since we don't buy meat a lot, it's like, well, if I'm out, I'm gonna
right.
do this.
If
You know
I'm
what I
gonna-
mean?
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna do it. So yeah, we'll go with that.
Well, Natalie, thanks for coming on. It's been a blast, and maybe we'll have you on down the line after you get a couple more of these Ironmans under your belt, so you got more stories for us.
Yeah, would love to come back.
I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
All right, guys, we'll catch you next time.